This is the Power Producers Podcast, where we are refining and redefining the sales game.
Rule number one is you have to believe in yourself. You're the only one who doesn't think you belong in this appointment. The prospect has already validated your existence by scheduling time with you. Get it through your head you belong here, go in there, crush it, and close the deal.
A place where sales professionals can come to learn from other sales professionals and thought leaders that have mastered their craft.
The difference between a good salesperson and a best-in-class salesperson is only 2 minutes. By spending an extra 2 minutes on what you might think is a mundane task in the sales game, you separate yourselves from the pack, you grow your book of business, you close more deals, and you retain your accounts.
As well as their peers who are still striving for perfection to achieve their why.
I have a wife and 4 kids. Failure is not an option.
Real sales professionals, real stories, real results.
It's no different than being a professional baseball player. You can't be a one-trick pony. You have to be a 5-tool player in order to succeed in this game.
This is the Power Producers Podcast, production redefined. Are you ready to feel the power?
Hey everybody, welcome to the Power Producers Podcast, where we are refining and redefining the sales game. Today, our guest is Mr. Jeromy Huerta. Jeromy, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. So, as we do with everybody else, just so they can get some flavor, tell them who you are, where you came from, how you got to where you are today.
Ooh, okay. This is
and I will tell you that Ryan Keating has set. I will tell you, Jeromy, that you're going to be safe, no matter what your background or how long it took you to get to where you're at. I think that Ryan Keating's got the world record, and it will never, ever be broken. He messaged
as far as jobs.
Dude, he messaged the page today and asked if he named a company asking if that's where you were, Kyle. And I wrote back and said, no, it was Quill. And then he rattled off, well, I was on the merchant services side for such and such at one point. And I'm thinking,
oh, was he talking about Sidcor?
Yeah. He said, I'm thinking to myself, you spent 20 minutes naming all of the jobs you've ever had in your career, and I don't even remember you saying that one.
I vaguely remember him talking about merchant services, but yeah.
I asked Jeromy, I asked him in the middle of the pod, in the middle of his explanation, I said, this sounds strikingly like Forrest Gump. You have literally been everywhere and done everything, from working in a cherry orchard to working as a cotton candy vendor for the Padres. This guy he just kept going. I love the dude to death, man. But I was just thinking, if you can't sell insurance with that amount of background where you literally should be able to find common ground with anybody. Usually Kyle's busting my chops because I've got a story for everything.
Right.
Or I've experienced a bunch of different stuff. Keating has me beat hands down.
It's experience, right? I don't have that much experience. This won't go into where I came from, but 2 of the best jobs probably had. Worked at a surf shop in Turtle Bay in North Shore, Hawaii. And then I was a chef.
It sounds like a pretty high stress environment.
Culinary training at a Mexican restaurant in the North Shore of Hawaii. So nobody ever came into a restaurant. I think we had one customer come in 2 months, but right across the street from the restaurant was the Pacific Ocean. So, I mean, one of the best jobs ever.
How does the restaurant stay open if they have one customer every 2 months?
They don't. He actually had to shut down. Everything got shut down. Then he brought in his camping grill, for the last few weeks for us to cook on. But I'll tell you now, Kyle, we had a lot of churros.
Oh, churros are the best.
Carne asada tacos that I took home to my roommates at night. So,
it sounds like it was more of just like a hangout versus a job.
Yeah, I mean, it's it was ideal. Last time I really cooked though, besides ramens for my kids. So, I'll give you a rundown real quick. Grew up in Idaho, moved to Washington years ago. So that's why I have an office up here, because after I went to college, maybe one thing Ryan didn't do that I did, I went to 5 colleges, right, which most people laugh at. So I might have him beat on that aspect. But after I graduated from Arizona State, moved back up to Washington.
Hang on a second. Did you just keep getting kicked out of college, or like what? Or are you like Van Wilder?
I thought you played basketball in school.
I did. I'll tell you a little bit about that. But, well, I'll tell that now. So I played in high school, right? And I had some opportunities to go play at small schools. But my senior year, I decided I was going to go on a mission for my church. So I went to a church school to prepare for that. And I chose that instead of getting ready to play or to play in college. So when I came back after my mission, I went to school for a year, and then 3 years is just that love and passion didn't leave me. So I ended up playing at a junior college, community college up here in Washington. But it was very difficult after taking 3 years off to get back into shape and get into the grind. Yep. It was very hard. And I ended up, my first year back from my mission, I tore my lower abdominal muscle.
Oh,
so I hadn't played in 3 years, tore my lower abdominal muscle that whole year. It was just, my first step wasn't the same. I wasn't as quick. The body wasn't the same, and it was too hard.
2 guard, 3 guard, what?
Yeah, the UTEP's 2-step was gone.
Yeah, absolutely. So I played, and I had a chance to play longer, but it's kind of like now I can go out there and my mind see things better, but the body just isn't the same. So
I'm with you. I played in a men's league 2 summers ago, almost died. Could barely make it up and down the court. I mean, and I was like, I played in high school all 4 years, was in fantastic shape, played a little bit in like intramural stuff and whatnot in college at USF. But dude, it's the struggle is real right now.
It is.
I played in high school, and I could have played small college as well, but I chose to play baseball instead. And really because I realized that as much as I was able to bounce people around the post in high school, that wasn't going to happen in college. Like I would have had to have gone out and been a shooting guard or something. And while I was able to shoot, I was never going to get any playing time.
How in the world
did you – my shot is still fantastic.
I guarantee you I can shoot better lefty than you can shoot with whatever hand you are.
Okay, well, that's fine. I'll let you continue to think that, and I'll bet you money on it at some point.
Deal.
How did you tear your abdominal muscle?
Doing lunges.
Oof.
So I tore mine. I think that I tore it. If I didn't tear it, I severely pulled it, and it was the dumbest thing ever. I was on
getting out of bed.
I was on one of those crunch machines where you hook your legs into the bottom and pull over the top. And it was right before baseball season, my senior year of high school. And the cheerleaders were working out at the Y where the baseball team was also working out. And so I had this bright idea. I would just climb on this thing.
I don't know if you heard me counting. I did over 1,000.
Yeah. I pegged the rack of weight, man. And I was like, somebody count me off here. Like, I got like 4 in, and like I cramped up, and for like 3 or 4 weeks after that, it was just like I was perpetually being stabbed in the stomach. It was really.
Oh, I'm telling you, it is hard, and especially. So I played my first year after I torn it, but even going through rehab and all that, after taking 3 years off, the body wasn't having it. It just wasn't having it. So hoop dreams went down the drain. But from there, that I guess propelled me to one state after another. Went to school in Utah, went to school in Hawaii, went to school in Arizona. But I always had a plan, okay? So my parents were very supportive. Obviously, my dad's like, I would move places. I would rent a place and not even have a job yet. And that's kind of backwards with him, which typically it is. But I always had a plan. I knew it would take me somewhere. I just didn't know where.
I moved places and signed leases without having a job and had no plan, actually. At one point in my life, I moved out of my parents' house after I went away to school. Things didn't necessarily go the way they were supposed to. Grew up in a very conservative home. I liken it similar to the Amish when they leave for their year in the wild to sow their oats. I did that. And then when I came back, I decided that I was going to move back up to West Virginia from Florida. I left. I had $500 of cash in my pocket. my rent of $360 was due on arrival, and I got a speeding ticket for $200 on the way there. So I was cash flow negative before I ever got there, had no job, was in one of the most repressed economies in the country. Like, couldn't believe it that I was actually even able to find a job. But I worked at the finish line in the mall for $4.25 an hour all day. I would go home and sleep for 3 or 4 hours. And then I was the night auditor at the Comfort Inn in Morgantown, West Virginia for $4.75 an hour. And I'd go home and sleep another 3 or 4 hours and then be back at the mall the next day. I really wish that I could tell you that I gained professional experience from that helps me today, but I didn't. The only thing I learned from that is I did not want to live for a prolonged period off of the ShopRite 10 for $1 boxes of mac and cheese.
I knew we were going there.
Every time.
I knew we were going Velveeta on them.
Well, no, Velveeta was on payday.
I know.
Right? So it was 10 for $1 for the ShopRite brand. And that is probably like, there's got to be some type of cancer caused by that product at this point. But we moved to Velveeta on payday. And if it was a really good payday, we got ground beef and an extra pack of plain pasta noodles. And then we would thin the sauce with, or I say we, it was just me. I would thin the sauce with water to make it last for a couple of days after
So
the fact.
foul.
But if you've never lived, listen, man, if you've never lived like that, if you have never had to live like that, and I didn't have to, I chose to. But if you've never lived like that, you don't appreciate. I don't think a lot of people appreciate what they have today.
No,
I wasn't mature enough to know the difference.
Gross. Yeah,
No,
I was eating ramen and dollar menu stuff from Wendy's every day. Whatever.
What are you, the aristocracy?
You don't eat that anymore?
Huh?
Oh, you don't eat that anymore? Ramen and dollar menu?
I can't. I actually did have some. My wife was craving ramen when she was pregnant and bought like a whole shit ton of it. So we had it in our pantry, and I went down there drunk one night a couple weeks ago. I was like, "Oh yeah, ramen."
Yeah. Well, so here's my question: like, when did ramen actually become expensive?
I know, inflation, man. It's crazy.
Like, you guys have. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about these restaurants that serve it.
Oh, yeah.
It's like $20 a head to go get noodles.
Yeah.
Hey, you can doctor ramen up. I know people that do it.
Yes. If you haven't seen it before, I would
just put ground beef in it and thin it with water, right?
Auntie Fee on YouTube shows you how to feed a family of 7 for $3.50. If you can get past the language, it's absolutely genius what she does with the ramen and all of that. It's crazy.
That's mine. Well, I would say, unlike yours, is, not everybody that wanders is lost, right? So it might have been like I was wandering to others. And I don't know if I learned a lot, met a lot of cool people, got to go to different schools. Maybe I became a little bit expert. I could have been a college counselor. But one thing that I always stuck to, that I was going to eventually work for myself and do my own thing, right? So even though people are saying, what are you doing? Why are you switching schools? Why are you going here and that? Like I said, I always had a plan. The plan was just stick to what I felt was what I wanted to do, right? And I think it's, especially at a young age, it's difficult at times if you have these dreams, goals, and aspirations, because as you get older, it's like, I got to get a job. I got to pay bills. I got to settle down. And you lose those hopes and aspirations that you had when you were young, where you feel like you can accomplish anything. So it was a good experience, though.
So how did you get to where you are now in insurance? I mean, there's got to be a way to connect these dots.
There is. So I finally finished up 5th school, went to ASU, got married, missed my family. So I moved back up to Washington, had various jobs like at YMCA. I couldn't even get a job after I graduated at the Nike outlet. They said I was too qualified. Ended up working as a basketball trainer, got back into basketball, and helped run a girls division at this basketball facility. And the writing was on the wall. I wanted, a big family. I wanted a lot of kids. That wasn't going to pay for it. So my brother had been working at an independent agency. They just hustled dealerships. So I got licensed. Started working with him, started hustling dealerships. And then after 10 months, partnered with one of my best friend's dads and opened up Heritage Insurance, what it is now.
So when you say hustling dealerships, I assume you mean auto dealerships selling car insurance to people buying cars?
Yeah, I mean, we each had our own geographical area, and we just go out there, pound the pavement, right? Take cards, candy, and non-standard in Washington is different than other states. I would call it like upper echelon non-standard versus where I have an office in Arizona and it's different there. So people are buying minimum limits but comp and collision, right? So you just build these relationships. People go out, they buy a car, the salesman puts them on the phone with you, and you write the policies. So, at the time, it was like 2006, people were getting loans, whether their credit score was 460 to 5, whatever, right? Because they had those credit lots that targeted those people. So, we'd write, 70 to 100 policies a month just from these people.
Wow. Kyle, my buddy Happy Brian was actually in that non-standard lending. That was his job.
Oh,
and he literally was printing money, and all he did was take donuts to finance guys at car lots.
That's
and
he does not seem to fit that mold for me with my interaction with him.
That's why he is now sarcastically Happy Brian. He was actually Happy Brian back then.
Okay.
Now he's been resorted to not doing that anymore. It works much harder to make his money, but yeah,
it all makes sense now.
Yeah, he did that for a while. So tell us a little bit about Heritage, man. I mean, that's not what you're doing now, right? I mean, it's got to have morphed.
Nope. Yeah, it morphed. We started expanding in other states. What was great about that is I could hire people in other states and they just go market. And then, you have these agents selling out of their homes, 7 days a week. So you just had to be available. But we gave that up. I don't know. It was a few years ago, maybe 4 years ago, just because it's a lot of grind. It's a high turnover, but not even on the sales side, on the service side, you have a whole lot that's going with that. So, transitioned from that a few years ago, we got out of that. And really, honestly, as you and I have talked lots of times, I'm always honest, is for a couple of years, we really didn't have a way of driving in business consistently like we did with dealerships, right? We'd worked with captives and different things. So it was finding our way for a while, because I have to, whether the sounds are good or bad, I got to buy into it, right? Like there's agencies that will still work with dealerships. I just didn't want to do that anymore. There's agencies that just work with mortgage brokers, and that's great, but there's a lot of caretaking and a lot that goes on with those relationships. So whatever your niche is, me personally, I got to buy into it. It's something that I'm going to want to do and I want to be involved with, right? So it took us a few years, and now we get a lot of Google reviews. So we drive a lot through Google. We've started doing stuff more with Facebook and YouTube, and that's where our future is and where we're looking to go. Because this is what I loved about dealerships. I love volume. Like volume excites me. If I was going to go watch a game, I'd rather watch two teams that score 140 points than they slow it down, and they're scoring 80 points.
So what kind of niches are you working in now?
So a lot of our niches now, we just write a lot of standard package business, right? The everyday people, but we're working now to refine, how we go after those people, the psychology of those people, where are they shopping, what messages are they wanting to hear, what's going to bring them in, right? And then on the commercial side, obviously we're working with David to go after, cyber and the liquid gas propane industry there. So I'm probably
I saw that on your website. That's something just geographical out there to the Seattle area, is the petroleum and the propane and everything, or not really?
It is, and actually I got real lucky. One of my best friends has the largely private held liquid gas propane. They're the largest LPG distributor in Oklahoma.
Okay.
And Travelers has a program or they did. But when we quoted them a few years ago, their propane percentages were higher, so Travelers didn't like that. So he essentially went to his company and said, "Hey, this is my best friend. I want him to be my broker. If you don't appoint him, we're going somewhere else.
Nice.
So we happened to come across, a very good appointment, and we haven't done much with it for the last couple of years. So that's where, when I met David last year, I started picking his brain and just talking to him, and knew that he would be able to help us out, because I don't have that experience, right? But
right.
we had things in place. We just needed some direction. And I don't care if I know everything. I don't want to know everything. I'm going to find people that are better than me, right? So with commercial, and our commercial producer is like, David rolled out that program. I said, hey, I told Chris, is like, this is it. I believe in David. I believe in what we have. He will be better in helping us build this out than either one of us. So
it's interesting, when you're talking about the like the niches and tying yourself to the dealerships and stuff, because I have a hard time placing any trust in other people to be the revenue stream for my agency. Yeah, I've got channel partners that refer me business in, but I've always looked at that as if that's just the gravy. I've never stopped going out and working the deals and hustling to try and generate stuff organically. And I think that I would be really nervous if I was in that position where I was 100% dependent on the auto industry or anything else for that matter, just because what happens if that dries up? I mean, there's no diversification of risk at that point.
Absolutely. Look at right now. Like I just acquired another agency a month ago in Phoenix. And as I was, I've been up to the office driving back past these dealerships. I mean, I've thought a handful of times I'm so glad that we're not in that hustle anymore, because for that very same reason, but also is, I just don't want to baby relationships, right? If I get a good product and we've always done a good job, I don't care if somebody walks in and they give you more candy. I don't care if they're better looking. If you don't respect that relationship, that's just not something I want to deal with. So I think those went hand in hand.
I think the other aspect of that too is, that you can always bet on yourself. Like, you can't always rely on somebody else. Like you said, Dave, I mean, if that dries up, then what? If you're just relying on stuff coming in from other people and you don't have the, the activity there or the drive to do the cold calling yourself or whatever, then you're going to be in a bad spot.
Yeah, I'm interested in hearing a little bit about your acquisition, man. I mean, you kind of have an interesting setup to me. How did you end up in Phoenix and Washington? And then number two, you said the other agency you just acquired is in Arizona as well?
Yeah, so real simple. 5 kids, 9 months trapped inside, insanity in Washington. So literally we've been up here. My family's up here. We that's probably the hardest part in moving, but I just like the sun. And as crazy as it sounds, I don't care. Obviously, if I went to 5 schools, I like to just move and go places. I like to be free, right? And I love driving in the desert, and you just can see for miles. Like I feel free, as weird as that sounds. And I love the sun. We're outside. When this COVID hit thing, we're in California. We went from spring break, and then we came home, and it was like spring prison, because you found out it was like 5 months of summer. So we've been outside the whole time, hanging out. I just love the desert. It's pretty. So we moved back. We knew we wanted to move back there, a few years before we left in 2016. So I started looking to acquire. Organic growth is good, and it's hard, and we still do that. But I wanted to expedite that. So I started looking at acquisitions. So I bought an agency in Scottsdale. And that made it so I could move and still build a business, right, instead of just working from home. And then, over the last few years, I've bought and sold a handful of books. Right now I'm looking at 2 other acquisitions, over the next 2 months. So,
what are you looking for when you're looking at acquiring?
I'm looking for
multiple things, but
that others don't like, to be honest with you. So because of my non-standard background, I learned how to make money, and there's a lot of opportunity there, and it scares people, right? So I bought, 2 agencies I bought the last few years. They had all paper files, no management system. They had, not the best markets, just a lot of work, right? So if you see someone go in and they buy a house and they fix up, it's just like, it's one of those houses where you got a foundation, but just so much work. So really, Kyle, I like to buy agencies that are smaller, where I can build a relationship with the owner a lot better than a big broker or bank could, right? Mm-hmm. And that people aren't interested in, right? Who wouldn't want to go buy a book in personal lines where it's, package business and the retentions 85% and, they're with some of your top carriers. Well, everybody wants that, right? So I like to buy what other people really don't like from a standard agency point of view, right? Because we don't write that really, but that's how I grew up in the insurance industry. So I understand it.
How do you go about integrating that into what you have now?
It's a good question. So
I actually sort of agree with you in that it's probably easier to integrate somebody who has nothing than somebody who has systems and everything already in place.
Right. And some of it, why it's annoying, and I think people stay away from it, it's hard. Like, it's a lot of work. So when I went in 3 years ago, and we bought our office in Scottsdale, even though it was, the business was great, they'd been there 20 years, good carriers. We had, I couldn't even tell you, like, it was a nightmare. I saw file cabinets, right? Like this one I just bought, this whole wall 2 times is all boxes of paper. When I started, I was paperless in 2006, but you go in and I think it's, you look at when you're evaluating it, where are the easy fixes, and does that align with what we do, right? So when it comes to a management system, if they don't have one, that's simple because you're not really efficient. So now we bring in our management system, and that's easier for the everyday people, CSR's agents to use. When it comes to company, I actually look for agencies where I want to go in and cut about half the markets, because I'm going to bring in markets that we have relationships with and that I know are going to grow with me, right? So if I bought something in Georgia, I have companies where I wouldn't have to question if I went to them and said, hey, I need to extend my appointment to Georgia, if that makes sense. It's different each one. Like this one I just bought is different than another one I'm looking at right now that I'm trying to close on. So
what do you do with all the boxes? Do you try and get that stuff scanned in and organized in some way, shape, or form, or you just like take it all and put it in the quote unquote file room and hold on to it in case you need it?
Yeah, good question. So we scan it all, but there's a strategy to it, right? So like right now in our current one is we're just scanning everything by month, and we have it in, in the cloud. So if they have to go back and look for something in 2018, it's going to be a pain going through 1,000 pages for January, but we know it's in there. And really, I don't know how people can risk not having it paperless, because if your office, there catches like a fire, right? Or there's, pipes break and there's a flood or something happens, you're in bad luck. So we scan everything. We get it all scanned and we just put it in the cloud. We don't put it in the management system because that's just too much work. You got to ask yourself, what's worth the time and money, right? If it's all in the cloud, then we'll spend the time searching through stuff if we have to. So it just depends, but we get it all scanned right away.
How often do you actually have to go back and refer to that stuff though?
For the agency in Scottsdale, we did quite often because it was
really
business. Yeah. We did quite often. The one now, it just depends. This agency is predominantly Spanish speaking, right? So there's still a lot of newness to it. We don't know, but I always keep the main person on when I acquire, if it's not a book, right? So I'm looking at a book to buy right now, and I'm looking at agency. When I look at an agency, I keep the main person on. I keep the name. I try to keep it the same as possible and just take our model and go in internally and change things.
So how do you brand all that?
That's difficult. It took me 3 years to switch our branding up in our Scottsdale location because it was Classic Insurance. People knew Classic Insurance. It was a father and a son. They did a great job. I mean, this will kind of sum it up. When I first bought it and we were going through some of these files, is they had a floppy disk in there that one of the insured sent as pictures to their home, which was on one end, it was like, this is ridiculous. But on the other side, it was like, that's how long this client's been with them, right? Is they've had them for 20 years. So those clients, it was a little bit harder. We took a few years, and then we just recently branded it, and partly too because I sold my office location up there. We didn't need a location. Some of these other ones, it's I don't know if I will. So I keep the name. We market that way. It's always different. To be honest, I haven't found a set strategy to do every time, because I bought one a couple of years ago. We kept it the agency name it was, and I ended up selling it 3 years later. So, it wouldn't have benefited me to brand it.
What's the average age of these?
Oh, wow. Interesting. So now that I think about it, it's a good question. The one I'm looking at right now, the guy's been there like 30 plus years. They're all 25 plus years. Now to think back to the last 4 agencies, another book that I bought, he had been in insurance for a long time. Had been probably like 5 years, 5 to 10, I think.
I've always said that if I do make an acquisition or I start looking to go down that road, it's always going to be that kind of older, 25, 30 years in business, probably has some dusty corners in it. I also think that if I was looking at an agency to acquire, I would be looking specifically at what contracts they have that I don't have. A lot of Main Street agencies have good appointments with carriers that are difficult to get appointed with now, mm-hmm. like a Westfield or a Cincinnati or one of those.
Right.
And that doesn't mean you get to keep the appointment either, because I've been part of organizations where we've made acquisitions, and I was an equity participant in that, and we didn't get to carry the contract. They denied it. We met with them as we were doing the deal, and they came back and said, "Yeah, we just decided we're not gonna keep the contract in place if you acquire."
Oh yeah, I had that happen. I had a deal I was closing on in Washington. Everything was good. This company was struggling. It was the biggest part of the book. And we had it ready to go and funded, and they came back and said, we're not extending the appointment. Right. So that's why, as I've looked at it now, I'm a little bit different. For personal lines, I'm happy with my carriers. The direction we've gone is we want carriers that will do the service center. I don't want the servicing internal. Everybody's different, right? Some people want to have that control. I don't want that control. We're in sales, and we take care of our clients. We have a unified purpose. We compete for individuals' peace, but that also goes back to, as a business, what's best for you, right? So I look for, I guess, agencies that don't have good contracts so I can bring mine in.
Huh. It's like the complete opposite of what you were just saying, Dave. Different.
Right. No, but I mean, I understand what he's saying. I mean,
absolutely.
That makes perfect sense. I mean,
no, it's just interesting, the two different perspectives.
What I'm hearing is you run lean, right? You've got like your set group of carriers you're going to run with. You know that you can trust the service centers at those carriers, so you can go in, make an acquisition. I heard you say, and you can correct me at any point if I'm wrong. I heard you say you keep the main person because you need that main person, but then you have the ability to wipe out staff if you need to wipe out staff because you're going to outsource the servicing needs to a service center that you might give up a point of commission. I don't use service centers right now because our book doesn't really blend with a service center. But I'm assuming you give up like a point of commission or whatever, as opposed to having salaries, benefits, and all of that stuff. And you can immediately make an impact on the profitability of an agency that way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's once again is what it's taken me some time, and even after we stopped getting out of dealerships, I felt like I was wandering, but I'm fine, because once I find what I want to do, that's the direction I'm going to go. but I'm not just going to do something because other agencies are doing it, or maybe, companies say, here's the next way to go. Is I got to buy into it myself, right? Like it's, we've talked a lot, is what you see is what you get. If you tell me a joke and it's not funny, I'm probably not going to laugh at you. Not to be rude, but that's just how I am. So the business has got to be the same. It's got to be the same. So yeah, we go in there, and what we're saying is we're comfortable with what we have. Basically, I'm saying this. I have my 5 guys. I'm confident I can go to my pickup game and compete against your 5 guys.
Makes sense.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. I think it makes a lot of sense. So talk a little bit. I mean, this is not where I necessarily, number one, I'm learning a whole bunch from you, man. I didn't realize you were like in this whole acquisition thing. That's interesting. We've never talked about it. I think every time we've talked, it's either been about cyber or liquid propane or whatever. So it's cool to hear.
Smart. I just listen to you. I try not to.
Whatever.
Smarter than me.
Whatever, man. See, I'm not laughing at that joke.
I'm laughing.
Yeah, I know you are. I can barely see it through your beard, though.
That's right.
You need to get
my
that
favorite
thing
episodes are when you get beard shamed.
Oh, I know. Well, Jeremy's got a solid goat going, and my goodness, you look like Gentle Ben or Grizzly Adams or whoever.
Hell yeah.
That is,
Kyle,
that's horrendous.
I've always wanted to grow a beard. The only way I've ever grown a beard is on those beard apps, right? And I put it on myself, and I just sit and look at it and be like, man, that'd be so nice.
So I was growing my beard out last week or the week before. I literally went 2 weeks without shaving. You could barely see that had happened.
That was 2 weeks, huh?
More importantly, it was pure white. Like, I'll never not shave again at this point because I could not believe how white my facial hair was. It was crazy. I'm used to the Pauly Walnuts from Sopranos look on the sides,
dude,
with the white and the black down the middle.
Hey, I got a bunch of white.
Yeah, I don't have it on top though, man. I mean, if it was equal, I wouldn't care. It's just kind of, I look like a badger or a skunk or something. But anyhow, what I'm interested in is you're going through and funding this stuff, or going through and making these acquisitions. How do you go about the funding? I mean, I'm interested in that part of the process because I do think there's something for Kyle and I to learn here as we grow Florida Risk. There's a very realistic possibility that when I decide we'll finally get serious about personal lines, that it'll be done through acquisition, not organically.
Yeah. Well, and it's back to that volume thing, right? That's what excites me. So, if we can turn volume organically, but also through acquisition, that's just what keeps me going, keeps me motivated. I like that. So, one thing I read an article a few years ago, I had no idea. And I was talking about how there's so many business owners that don't, really protect their credit. And realize that that's a huge benefit, right, in what you do. So luckily, I've always done that. SBA loans are what I do. It's very difficult. But once you get approved, you're approved up to X amount, and there's certain guidelines that or protections you have where, if you were going under, the bank can come in and just take your book and all this stuff. I'm not much of a details person, to be honest with you. But all of mine have been SBA. There's been some, I'd say, private money for individuals or acquaintances that I have, friends, family, whatever, that like some of the stuff that I've been doing, right? But it's all been through the SBA. And right now, which I'm sure you're aware of, the reason why, I just closed in June. So someone might say, well, it's not really smart to try to buy 2 more in the next 2 months, right? Like you're really leveraging yourself. But the SBA is waiving their fee and they're making payments for you for 6 months. So that's free money.
Right.
So if the books look good, and the SBA, is waiving their fee, then this might sound bad too. I leverage the heck out of myself to get where I need to be. But there's risk, but I also, look at the potential and it's a sound decision there. But you got to find a good bank. That my friend's company that we insure in Oklahoma, his dad was was built a very successful business. And he told me years ago when I was out there just doing a site inspection, he's like, Jeromy, one thing you need to have is you need to have a bank that understands your business and that you can go to if you need to acquire things or if you need a loan or something. He said, whatever the case may be. So that's been my goal the last few years. And bank I'm working with now, I feel comfortable with them. I just had a call with my banker yesterday, and I said, I know I just closed. I got 2 more deals. Can we make this happen, or is it crazy? And she's like, nope, sounds good. Let's make it happen. So I feel I finally have that last piece where you have a bank that's there for you. And once you start doing deals and they see that you're successful, then I just think there's more leeway, right?
So I've got...
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, too, at least from what I understand it, I've got a really good relationship with a local community bank here that's got about 8 or 9 branches. I don't have any debt as the agency right now, but these guys make all the decisions in-house. So while they have the ability to do the SBA piece, I think it gets really interesting when – and this is going to sound bad, but I don't mean it for you as much as I mean for me. I would have to go – we have no credit as a business right now. I don't borrow money from anybody. We've been 100% self-sustained on cash. And I realized that I have to do something to change that going forward because as we grow, I want to add real estate to the balance sheet, and buy the offices that we're out of and all of those other things. And I look at the SBA as a stepping stone. And when, my goal would be pop a couple of deals and make sure they go smooth through the SBA and then graduate from that and be able to have more traditional lending or just a flat line of credit where I don't have to worry as much about jumping through all of the SBA hoops to get the deals done.
Absolutely. It's a pain, to be honest with you, right?
It's a pain to issue certificates for that, man.
Yeah, that's why I've gone and I've gotten some outside, investment, not like private equity, but just from individuals, right? So, yeah, I mean, ultimately my goal is you find a bank that will lend like that. The problem with our industry, though, is there's no tangible assets. So if you're just talking about a book, even though you have this client list and it's generating income, some of them just don't get it, right? Like Chase Bank, I've talked to them, they don't get it. It's like, what doesn't make sense? There's if I stop selling, you still have all this income coming in. It's a client list. You have people and all these policies, but I agree with you. That's ideal because it just makes it a lot faster. But I'm not willing to do that now because we're talking like it could be 10, 12, 14%. I talked to some people and they're going through loans and I mean, the interest rate's crazy.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's the good part. I've got a good relationship with the CEO of this bank and he understands what I do. And I know that he'll help me because he's only told me about 24 times. When you're ready to start borrowing money, I told him, I'm a horrible client for you, man. I'm going to ask you to hold my money and I'm not going to give you any interest, for letting me borrow any. And so I just know that as we scale, that's going to happen. That's going to have to happen. I'm interested in this, man. You and I have similar values as far as family and spending time with our kids and work-life balance and all of that. Kyle, you should see the wicked slow-mo videos of the lightsaber fights on his trampoline.
Nice.
Yeah, it's epic. And you're while normally I have beard envy, I think I have waterfall envy from his pool, man. This guy looks like his backyard was built by Lucas Lagoons from Insane Pools.
Oh, I love that guy.
I love that show, man.
I love that guy.
I was feeling good about myself, and I told my wife when we redid the pool last year, I'm like, I'm going to call Lucas Lagoons and see what that looks like. So I go on his website to book an appointment, and the minimum job he was taking at that time was $350,000.
See, yeah, that stuff's crazy expensive, and like we'll be sitting there watching it, and like, how much do you think that one costs? I'm like, easily $500,000. I'm like, oh, really? I'm like, yes, that has to be. I mean, do you see the slides and the waterfall and like all of the dolphins that are swimming around in the pool? Like, I mean, it's
well, listen, here's the thing. here's another little bit of my guerrilla warfare from a marketing standpoint. I'm giving away a secret here, but if you were to go, number one, he's based about 45 minutes from where I live.
Yeah.
And so I always pay attention to where he's going because I want to know the people who have the money to buy these pools because they are business owners or CEOs. A lot of them come out of the tech space. So I'm just saying, if you had nothing better to do, if you were to take a list of the people that had been on Insane Pools and you looked at the people that I'm connected to on LinkedIn, there's a very strong possibility that there is some overlap there, because as soon as I see them on Insane Pools, I reach out to them and connect to them on LinkedIn and start to develop an online relationship with those people.
See,
hey, sweet pool. What's up with your insurance?
Hey man, I saw you on Insane Pools. I just wanted to connect with you on LinkedIn instead of Facebook, so I have some level of professional credibility. Mind if I come over and check it out? I mean, no, it's interesting, man, because I've actually had conversations with these people. I think one of the things that the people in our industry do that's a problem is they don't know how to slow play, right? They do stuff like that, and they don't respect the fact that these people have no clue who you are, right? It's easy to get an intro or a first meeting or whatever you want to call it, or just a connection online with somebody. But if there's something that I would tell you I am good at, I'm really good at sitting back and understanding the cadence and the correct timing that I should be using to interact with people through LinkedIn. And it's so abused by so many people, especially like if you want to get me going, ask me to connect on LinkedIn, and then within 30 seconds of connecting, you send me a message that says, "Hello, David R. Thank you for connecting with me." Blah 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 blah. I'm out. Like I will unfriend you on LinkedIn literally within 2 minutes of accepting your request, because that's just bush league to me, man. That's used car salesman, whatever you want to call it. It's just bad. So, but I think that's a good tool, man. I think that people don't understand that if you pay attention to your surroundings and you want to network with wealthy people or business owners or whatever else, the opportunity's in front of you every day. It's just a matter of perfecting the way you do that.
No, I agree. I think you're great at that. What's kind of interesting in my standpoint is I don't enjoy that, right? Like I've really started taking a step back out of day-to-day. I just want to build. Like I don't if we had a very successful agency and nobody knew it was me, I don't really care. When it comes down to it, I just want to win. And winning's different for everybody, and you're always competing against your best self. But regardless, you don't, in my opinion, is if you're competitive, if you see someone else having success and it doesn't like grind you a little bit and bother you, to me, that's a part of being competitive. And it doesn't mean I don't want other people to succeed or that, but it's kind of like, with basketball back in the day is, yeah, I wanted to be my best self, but there was another point guard that was better at this school or that other school, like that got at me, right? So if he was getting more love than me, it's not that I'm worried about the fame, but you just know as you improve and people talk about you, then that speaks to where you are. So
I think that's anybody
question. No,
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna go back to the acquisition thing. So if you've got something on that, then go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I think anybody at all that's successful in this industry has to have that edge to them. Period.
Yeah,
and I do think that part of me likes the building piece of it and in sitting back and doing that. But I'll be honest with you, man. I don't think there's ever going to come a day in my life that I don't like going out and killing. I really just don't think that I will ever get out of that. I love going out, even in the longer it takes me and the more strategic I have to be to get a deal done, the better I like it. I mean, that's the part of this industry that I like more than anything else is the fact that I can take nothing, meet some. I could pick I could take all of the middle market companies in Tampa, put their names in a hat, pull one out, and I would want to see how long it would take me, because in my mind, it doesn't matter. If you exist, I'm coming for you. So let me take that. Let me figure out a way to strategically get in there. It might take me 6 months. It might take me 3 years, but I'm never going to quit until I win. And that to me is the best part about what we do, is the fact that you can do that. You have the ability to do that. Literally everybody is your prospect. Right. Everybody.
I feel like that mentality does come from sports, though. I mean, like you were talking about, Jeromy, I mean, most of the people that have that, that drive to want to go out, and not that you have to beat everybody else, but you have that constant competitive, fuel burning within you. I think that's common with everybody that grew up playing sports. At least that's my interpretation on it. But no, so my question was, kind of two-part deal. What have you learned from like the first acquisition that you made, through where you are today? Like, what's your biggest takeaway? And then the second part of that would be, what advice do you have for, agency owners looking to kind of get into the acquisition game?
Yeah, so I'd say probably the biggest thing I've learned is know your systems, right? And at least for me, I'll just say from my standpoint, is the ones I'm looking at is I didn't know at first how long the transition would be, right? And I had it in my mind as, here's our systems, here's what they don't have, here's what we're going to bring in. But my timeline wasn't realistic. Well, I can't say it wasn't realistic. I just didn't know. And we weren't as strategic about it, right? So that's probably the biggest thing I've learned, is to really evaluate and ask all the questions beforehand of the setup of the agency. And we're talking about how, the employees do their day-to-day systems. Basically it could be phone systems. It could be their management system. It could be all of it, but just finding out everything you need to know on how it operates daily. And that's probably, I'd say, the biggest thing I've learned, is realizing that you have to know what you're buying. Like, if you go buy a house and it looks great and it's got good bones, you always hear, then you see these shows and they go in and they're tearing down drywall and like, oh, you got a water leak, or oh, you got to replace the plumbing, you got to replace the electrical, right? I think any advice for people that are buying is what's your goal? Like, I know specifically what we're trying to do, right? I know our target market. I know, like, I'm trying to get to a certain point. And I think if you just want to acquire something to grow, that could be great. But what is the reason? Are you trying to hit, increase your policies in force for your companies so you get a better payout? Are you trying to get bigger so you can build a book and then bring on other appointments? You have to know what you're trying to do. But just to buy, I think you have to be more strategic and have a better plan. But once again, I don't hear a lot of people out there, at least, we're a medium-sized agency. We're not too big. We're not big. We're not small. So lots of times I've gone up against bigger brokers, but because I think a lot of times the agency owner feels like they're looking at themselves 30 years in the past or 20 years in the past. I have a better opportunity to make a quicker connection, because they know I just want to take what they do and build on it. So all their hard work, we appreciate it. We want to take what you've done and just see if we can make it better.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. Well, listen, man, you've been generous with your time. We're coming up on an hour. I know for a fact, based on experience, people are going to want to talk to you. So how do they find you? What's the best way for them to get in touch with you if they want to pick your brain a little bit or ask some questions?
Text my wife. Just kidding.
Actually, that would be accurate in my world. So
they can reach out to me on Facebook Messenger. They can email me. It doesn't really matter, right? Always willing to talk to people. I think that's one thing I've learned this last year is for so long I didn't branch out and meet people, right? And I realized that it's not because I didn't want to. It's just a lot of time, right? Like, it takes time away from doing stuff. But I've grown so much as an individual and as an agency owner just by making relationships that it's truly, helped me in my business.
Well, I can tell you this, man. Usually I struggle, or not struggle, but I have to think through the artwork of the thumbnail for the episode after people have been on. You were one of the people who I've had it designed waiting to have you on. So I can't wait for the big reveal when that comes out. And
it's like a big smile.
What's that?
You knew it would come with a big smile.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to make you laugh. I'm going to make you smile or whatever. But yeah, be ready, man. It's coming. I've got it designed and it is going to be epic. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Love seeing those cups when people post them. They're so cool.
Absolutely. Well, listen, man, I got to bounce. I got to jump on a call. I appreciate you being on, and we'll catch you soon. Thanks so much for your time today.
All right. Appreciate it, guys. See you, David. See you, Kyle.
All right, brother.
See you, man. Thanks.
You've been listening to the Power Producers Podcast. You can follow Killing Commercial Insurance on Facebook and YouTube. And if you want to take your game to the next level, check out our book, The Extra 2 Minutes, and our website, killingcommercial.com.